We're in Winton. Yeah, the race course. Bloody rats here. Bloody huge buggers. Bloody rats had a go at this bloody tin. Amazing. I had them sitting next to my feet, so I kicked them away last night. Look at that. They wanted to bloody chew at them. We're at the age of the dinosaurs. We're about to get ready to do our tour in the laboratory and woods.
Push to the bottom, everything at the bottom gets pushed up to the top and can take anything broken off the layer underneath, like it's a dinosaur fossil, up with it. You can see the pieces we've got in here, they're pretty broken up and weathered, not in very good condition. This process of coming up through the black soil is not very good for the fossil. So it's really good for giving us a sneak preview of what we might find if we go digging down deeper. So we've found our spots deep, and then we've got to clear out all that black soil using big heavy digging machines, but very carefully. After a while we'll hit the bottom of the black soil and the top of the fossiliferous layer, which is just a fancy way of saying a bit of dirt with all the bones in it. At that point we kick out the big diggers and bring in the little diggers. All the people with shovels and pickaxes and crowbars and screwdrivers, and of course the fiddly little brushes like you see at the start of Jurassic Park, just to get the dirt out of your way. Now, sadly, it's very rare that you'll find a dinosaur fossil in the ground that looks anywhere near as nice and neat and pretty as ones you tend to see in the movies. Because a lot more often it looks a lot more like the ones we've got in the bottom of this jacket next to me here and in the next two up. So when you have a chance, basically really deep, really heavy, in the surprises. Don't break your teeth. Crabs and crayfish, mollusks or seashells that you wouldn't really be surprised if you saw them on the beach today. There are also some things swimming around in there that are pretty alien to us that aren't around anymore, like beautiful spiral ammonites and spear-shaped belemnites, which are related to squid and cuttlefish, and a few different types of swimming reptiles, which again were not dinosaurs. Now an example of one of those in the middle there, the ichthyosaurs. And ichthyosaurs are kind of like the reptile version of a shark or a dolphin, very sleek and fish-shaped. Over time, this inland sea dried up and disappeared over the horizon and was replaced by our lush green temperate forest, made up of conifer trees.
Sorry.
But we believe that this is Judy's gut contents. Like Chucky, we believe it's been preserved with its last meal. And if we're right about that, then that is incredibly rare and incredibly important. In the entire world, there's only about 6 plant-eating dinosaur gut contents. It's generally accepted that that's what we've got. So if we're right, that'll make Judy just number 7 in the world. And also the second here in Queensland, as I understand it, the very first sauropod. So it'll be a pretty big feather in our caps if we're right. As well as being really rare, it'll be really important to study. Learn more about what the environment was like around Judy, what sauropod diets were like, or at least the very last thing that this particular sauropod ate, and maybe even give us a better picture of what these animals really look like and how they behave. So keep an ear out, hopefully in the not too distant future. Like the Bigger Dino program, we have a Prepper Dino program. So anyone aged 12 or over this time can pay to join us and learn how to prepare dinosaur fossils. The full program goes for 10 days, but you don't have to do it all at once. You can chop it into bits or just come along for the first day or two and decide that's enough. That's totally fine. If you do complete the full 10 days, then at the end of that, if we know that you know what you're doing, you become an honorary technician and you don't have to come back to, you don't have to pay to come back anymore, aside from an annual refresher. And you come along, we'll just book ahead and we'll make sure, so we can make sure you present. When we cut open our jackets, we'll find our fossils broken into some combination of big cells called arrowite. For little pieces, we use this really high-tech paramethological adhesive called super glue.
They're not accurate though. I like looked at it one day.
This is all the plants in the general area. This is quite an impressive for the tourist attraction. You could spend days out here. This is the plants here on the jump up, and this indicates for all the various different plants and so forth. They are brilliant. We're looking at the lookout, looking back at the visitors reception.
And you see, sticking out of the ground, a bone, a thigh bone, a femur. This is a thigh bone of a sheep, and it's not what you found. This is a thigh bone of a cow. Imagine a femur bigger than me. It had belonged to an animal at least 20 metres from nose to tail. It had belonged to a sauropod, like this one. And you wouldn't expect to find it out here. But this is where the bone was found. Luckily for me, sauropods don't live here anymore. But once upon a time, there were herds of them out here. Once upon a time, there were monsters in the outback. Dinosaurs have been found almost everywhere. Actually, almost everywhere but Australia, where until recently, very little evidence and none of the real giants have been found. And then something happened which revolutionised our understanding of Australia's dinosaurs. It happened in Queensland, near a place called Winton. Winton has the look of a place that's never changed. You can't help thinking that it must have looked like this forever. In fact, it's changed a lot. This harsh, dry landscape was a forested wetland on the northern shore of Winton, a small armed dinosaur that foraged on the lush vegetation that thrived during its time. Many species of sauropods browse through the open conifer forests. The 16-metre-long Winton Dinosaurus is Australia's largest known ornithopod, and hence the smallest, a chicken-sized Celerosauр, is known from running footprints near Winton. They live in great numbers. Scientists have known about isolated dinosaur remains around Winton for many years. However, it was only recently that the abundance of the region's dinosaurs really became known. The story belongs to David Elliott, founder of the Australian Age of Dinosaurs Museum and a third-generation farmer in the district. David Elliott's discovery, which triggered unprecedented excitement, was identified as the thigh bone from a sauropod, now fittingly nicknamed Elliott. Discovery and all the work that he and his supporters have done since have put Winton on the dinosaur map. But this little town has another claim to fame. On a property not far from here, a poet named Andrew Barton Patterson, or Banjo Patterson, penned the most famous lyric in Australia. It was here he wrote Waltzing Matilda. One of Australia's most widely known bush ballads, Waltzing Matilda tells the story of a swagman camped by a waterhole. But there's more than one famous Banjo and Matilda in Winton. On most digs, they discover a bone, or perhaps a partial skeleton. But on one dig, they discover the remains of two different dinosaurs, buried together in what was once an ancient billabong. These are the remains of the two creatures the Australian Age of Dinosaurs Museum has fondly named Banjo and Matilda. Can you tell me more about them? Did you find them?
No, I didn't actually find Banjo and Matilda. They were found by a lady who lived the other side of Winton, probably 150 kilometres away from us. And she rang Judy and I up and said there's this great big bone in the ground, come and have a look. There was a huge sauropod dinosaur, but not only that, there was a ranger in the pit with it, and within our first dig, we found a couple of little bones, we realised that there was something pretty exciting there, because it was definitely not Matilda. And when we kept going, of course, there's a beautiful sauropod dinosaur, and there's a carnivorous dinosaur right beside Matilda, so two dinosaurs to the price of one. Banjo was the first carnivorous dinosaur known by more than one bone or one scrapwood bone in Australia. And Matilda was exactly the same. She was the most complete specimen of a sauropod that we've found today.
The bones of Banjo and Matilda were found buried
dinosaurs are manipulable. By studying the evidence, possible clues can be found as to how they might have died around 98 million years ago. Killed Banjo? Well, of course we don't, but then that's the intrigue of paleontology. Investigating the deaths of Matilda and Banjo around 98 million years ago is similar to a homicide detective today poring over the evidence and tracking down a murderer. So how do we weigh out this evidence?
We've got more sauropods than anything. Pretty well most of the dinosaurs that we find are sauropods. But I often used to wonder, why aren't we getting all sorts of dinosaurs in our deposits? And then it really started to occur to me as what exactly those deposits are. And those deposits are ancient silt deposits. They're the bottom of muddy water holes, basically, just like this one. We've seen large animals that are coming down to here, they get a drink, and they're not coming back out again. And you have to wonder why that is. And then to do that, you've really got to look at the sauropods. And you're looking at the largest animals that ever walked the earth. They're 30-ton animals. They've got no real enemies. A mob of sauropods are virtually indestructible. Nothing could have touched them, but by the same token, they got old. Nothing lives forever, and animals, as they get old, they get frail. And I find that with my sheep and my cattle, because when they do, when they start walking into a waterhole similar to this, often they don't come out again. And what happens is they go in for a drink, and they can't pull their legs out of the mud. And sometimes, if you don't get back to a dam for, say, 3 or 4 days, and a sheep that's died on the edge of the water, wild pigs come along, clean them up, and you'll find a few leg bones. And then you imagine a huge big, 20, 30 metre long sauropod bed here, and scavengers coming down and pulling away at it. They pull the neck away, they pull the tail, you just get a few scraps and a few limb bones that are all down in the mud.
So that's why we only find the leg bones of the dinosaurs?
Well, it's probably the reason we find more leg bones than anything else. Doesn't look that deep, does it?
No.
Yes, what's this?
Oh, my word.
That's how much mud is there that's just settled out of this water.
Ah, so 30 tons, so I won't understand that.
And here's got to sit up on top like we are. He's just going to go straight in.
The discovery of Elliot, the success in locating his remains, and the knowledge that Australia does have a rich dinosaur heritage has revolutionised Australian dinosaur paleontology. This knowledge and the great public enthusiasm following the new discoveries has led to the development of the Australian Age of Dinosaurs Museum of Natural History. And in the past decade, it has amassed the largest collection of Australian dinosaur fossils in the world.
We soon became aware that what we had out here was the vast majority of Australia's dinosaurs. But the other reason is that we knew that unless we actually got in and did something about it, it was never going to happen. And these things were never going to come out of the ground in our lifetime or even our kids' lifetimes. You want the education side of it, there's this research side of it. All of those things, not just great for Australia, not just great for paleontology, but keeping these little regional centres alive. So it was just the greatest thing that we could do for our community, we thought, was to start the Australian Dinosaurs Museum.
Understanding the time of the dinosaurs tells us about our remote past, but it also explains how our world has changed, how our climate has changed, and how the slow, unending course of nature continues to change our planet. It's difficult to think of anything more important than understanding how our world works, because if we are truly to understand where it's going, first we need to understand where it's been. The Australian outback is a harsh and unforgiving place, but I think I prefer it like this than sharing it with monsters.
With some of the darkest skies here in Australia. We have very little cloud cover, very little smog, and zero to no light pollution out here. So as a result, what we can do is we can have night tours out here. Be able to drive up here, be able to head on the side, lay back some comfy cushions, and look up at our stars, constellations, and learn about the history of our universe. While all this is cool, fun and exciting, the building itself is just as interesting. The reason why the building looks the way it does is because it's meant to mimic that of a meteorite entering Earth's atmosphere. Because these little bits of rock will actually end up flaking off of them, giving them the sort of golf ball-like texture, as you can see behind myself here. Not to mention, the building itself is also meant to mimic that of the impact site. So the building has, the meteorite has then hit the ground and moved onto the surrounding rock and earth. Henceforth, one can see a trench of rock and caves in the entire length of the building. We thought to depict all this because, well, everything around here is dinosaur related, want to make this dinosaur related as well. After all, it was a meteorite that wiped out the dinosaurs 65 million years ago within the Gulf of Mexico. Now, during your free time when you go to explore the canyon, feel free to explore this building as well, it is not off limits to you. And another thing I'd like to quickly mention off is that with every single bronze statue we're seeing across the entire museum, including the ones at the front of the reception, including all the ones down in the canyon, including the big massive ones behind yourselves. Every single one of our bronze statues will be life-size. There's only one exception to this rule, and that is the moon that's in front of myself right here. Now it's also a globe can actually spin as well, although it might be a bit squeaky, needs a bit of WD-40. What's going to happen is we're going to head over towards the March of the Titanosaurs. We're not heading inside just quite yet, we're going to stop at the front. I'll explain the significance of the statues as well as a few of the rules that apply when heading on inside. With all this being said, let's get going, thank you. Because this building is entirely made out of concrete and metal. It's in years ago, these walls should be super saturated in mud. If I just borrow my imagination quick, I'll set the scene as to what we probably look like roughly 95 to 98 million years ago. The wall of glass next to myself here. Imagine what should be before us. So if you want to see your first clearest dinosaur footprint, you're looking for this shape in the ground right here. What you are looking for is an almost upside down love hut shape with a rock in the middle. This here is actually the back right footprint of the adult sauropod. And then if you can spot that moon crater shape that's in front of it, that moon crater shape is actually the front white footprint of the adult sauropod. With this we can start going over here. Again, what you're looking for is another upside down love hut shape with a rock in the middle. This here is the back left footprint of the adult sauropod. And if you can spot the moon crater shape in front of that, that moon crater shape is the front left footprint of the adult sauropod. With this, we can now start going right, left, right, left, right, left, all the way to the very back of the building, which is the that we have to see here today. If we please stick on this side of the wall, myself, and closer towards you guys on the opposite side of the railing. It's just very slowly, very lazily cruising on through the water, with its bottom feet dragging on the bottom of the mud. And then over here, you can spot that yellowish marker, those 3 pointed toes with 3 little triangles. This is the footprint of one of your anglo chickens or your Coelurosaurs, the feather-covered dinosaurs. Their footprint that was made by the tooth plate of a prehistoric lungfish. This is when it scooped out the prey in the mud.
They call this the canyon. We'll go for a walk down there, we'll see what we can find. This building's made of cement and steel, so any fire and so forth, nothing will get right. Bloody big animals. They call this little walk the canyon walk. Reception's back over there.